Welcome to Digital Marketing Intelligence for Shopify Ask the Experts, our bi-weekly live show and podcast that features expert interviews and case studies to show you what to do and what's new in Shopify and e-commerce digital marketing for 2022 and beyond. Ask questions, suggest topics, and grow faster with actionable insights and proven strategies from the world's leading Shopify and e-commerce marketing experts. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Digital Marketing Intelligence for Shopify Ask the Experts. I'm Marissa Morgan. I'm your show host. I'm also the Director of Business Development for Engage. I want to welcome you to today's episode of Digital Marketing Intelligence. Today, we're going to be doing a case study on a jewelry brand, a handcrafted jewelry brand called Colori. And we're going to be having the CMO of Colori here to talk about how he has helped his company to overcome some of the biggest issues they've experienced due to their rapid growth. And we're also going to be talking about something that is impacting so many e-commerce and Shopify stores across the board. And that is the fallout from Apple's new privacy initiative. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, stay tuned. If you know what I'm talking about, you don't want to miss today's show. So I'll introduce you to our special guest in just a moment. And a quick reminder that after today's show, we always share with you what we call our Engage Digital Marketing News of the Week. It's a tip, it's a trend, it's a piece of news as it relates to digital marketing and more specifically Shopify and e-commerce. We'll take a look at an article today about working remotely and how to get ahead if that's what you're doing and you do have an e-commerce business. So you don't want to miss that. Before I get started though, of course, a quick mention that all of this invaluable information is brought to you by Engage. Engage is super excited. We're going to be launching very, very soon our first ever SMS messaging for Shopify stores app. Now, if you're not aware, SMS messaging right now has about a 98% open rate compared to emails, which is only about 20%. Big difference there, right? So if you have an e-commerce business or you have a business up on Shopify and you're not yet using SMS messaging, you are missing out on a lot of business. And most importantly, you're missing out on that business without the need of a big technical staff. Our app is easy to use. It's easy to integrate. You don't need a technical staff. And what it can help you do is not only build your customer list, but increase sales, save time with automations, and most importantly, promote yourself or promote your products. It's easy to use. It's rolling out very soon, so make sure you stay tuned. And if you haven't tried it, an SMS app, I want you to try ours because as an incentive for our rollout, we are actually offering new users a 30-day free trial. And with that trial, you get 500 free messages to take for a test drive to make sure that our app, SMS messaging for Shopify, is the perfect fit for your business. So stay tuned. I'll have more information about that as we continue our digital marketing series this year in 2022 that is focused on Shopify and e-commerce businesses. If you're watching right now, welcome to today's show. It is time for me to introduce today's special guest. If you don't know who Tyler Berglund is, you need to. He's joining us today from the West Coast up in Washington. And Tyler Berglund is the current CMO of a New York City-based lifestyle jewelry brand that specializes in exceptionally handcrafted and made-to-last pieces. He has made a living for the last 7 years working in the digital marketing space. And one thing I love about Tyler is that he is the perfect fit for the Colori brand. And that is because the Colori brand's motto is we love all humans. They are all about diversity. They are all about loving multicultural backgrounds, people of all shapes, colors, sizes. And fittingly, Tyler has worked with 1,000, maybe 1,000 plus different businesses in a variety of categories as well. So his experience is a perfect match for the brand Colori's. He's worked with small local businesses and startups to NFL teams and international clothing brands. How about NBA affiliated energy drinks, right? And he says right now he loves his job because he considers Trace Colori one of the dopest modern day customizable jewelry companies in the world. I like that. Dopest. As I mentioned, his motto is all about embracing people of all shapes, sizes, and colors. And he's actually done that, even extended that to the world of his furry friends. And a fun fact about Tyler is that he's actually a proud wolf dog dad. Now, I don't watch the Game of Thrones, but he shared with me as he shares his plaque from his desk. If you're listening on the podcast version that says, does it say best dad ever? He shared with me that his dog is actually the same type of dog in the movie Game of Thrones. So, Tyler, welcome to today's show. Thank you so much for being our case study discussion in terms of your store, Trace Calories, on Shopify.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Marissa. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, 100%. We're so happy to have you here. Now, while I share the link to today's talk on my LinkedIn page, I would love to invite you to share with the audience a little bit about what has led you to your current position, which you've been for about 6 months, CMO of Trace Calories. What were the steps that led you to that new position? How are you liking it? And what are the changes you're excited to make happen for the brand?
Yeah, great question. So I started actually in the ad industry years ago. I was working at a local agency, did that grind for about 3 years, worked at a different agency, and then my paths kind of crossed with Trace Colori back in late 2019. So from 2019 up until 6 months ago, we had worked together pretty intimately through that agency relationship. And then we saw the need and the necessity to start bringing that in-house. So actually, they brought me in-house. I'm loving the position. These people are like family to me. And we literally grew from a team of 3 to a team of currently 15 in that time.
Wow. It must feel really good to be with a company that, started off as a very small brand. And obviously, I love the motto that we love all humans. To not only be with a brand that's very passionate about people, but a brand that you've been able to, you know, be a part of that growth and a part of changing as the world is changing a lot for all e-commerce businesses.
Mm, Absolutely.
Well, let's get into just a little bit more about your brand. Now,
Mhm.
as the CMO, obviously, you are seeing things from a certain perspective, but the fact that you worked with them prior to that role gives you an especially unique opportunity to kind of share a little bit about the brand and the business. How was that business originally started?
Yeah, so they started back in 2018 on eBay. And the owner had collected, he's doing the eBay gig, trying to see is this product something that people are going to want. Lo and behold, he collected an email list of about 2,000 people. And if you know anything about advertising, email list and list data is the most valuable thing in the game. That's some foreshadowing for the iOS 14 conversation.
I was just going to say that again, Tyler.
I said that's some foreshadowing for iOS conversation at the end, but that's actually how we got started is an email list of 2,000 people from eBay. And how do we translate that into Facebook? So in 2019, the business owner and his partner at the time get started. They're doing good. They're understanding basic concepts of advertising, but they're not seeing that growth and scale that they want to see. And that's actually when our paths had crossed. I audited them. I looked at their numbers. I looked at the
Mm,
data, and really dug deep into the back end business metrics before I started preaching return on ad spend or promising revenue goals or targets. Like I stay very far away from that type of advertising. I start looking at the costs of the business internals. Like, is this built to scale?
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. I love that you mentioned how important the email list is because, one thing that we're seeing, and I'll jump in and talk a little bit about this during our show, is that yes, email has been a huge part of building, especially small e-commerce businesses. But now we're seeing this shift to SMS marketing. And we'll definitely talk about that a little bit. But tell me, obviously, so one of the questions I like to ask our case study guests is obviously how the business initially got customers. And you really answered that. Email
Mhm.
marketing was a big
Mhm.
part of it, an email list. Now, do you find that that's still for your company um, the biggest way to communicate with your customers, or are you seeing that shift happen for your company as well to SMS marketing or other ways, social media influencers? How are you
It's a great
targeting it?
question.
Yeah.
It's definitely important, right? So that metric, anything SMS, anything email list, I categorize that as CLTV, so customer lifetime value. So that's after I get somebody interested in my brand, buying our products, and now that they've already purchased from us, how do I kind of cater a relationship to still add value when that value is needed without spending and wasting a bunch of money spamming people that don't want to be spammed? So
Mm,
customer lifetime value, email and SMS is an integral part of our strategy, but to be honest, in the beginning, it wasn't necessarily there. In the
mhm.
beginning, it was just that raw original list. And then I would say it's an integral part of business growth and scale that you have some sort of content plan. Getting content, getting a videographer, having content that can be tested on these platforms is by far the most important thing in the beginning, and understanding how are you going to position your brand. Like, what is it about your products that truly fit a need or a want of your existing customers, which you don't have in the beginning. So you need to find that and you need to test that in a way that's not just dumping money, but in a way that's productive where you're not failing, but you're learning.
That makes a lot of sense too, because we all know that it's pretty common and pretty old school mentality to talk about solving a problem for your customers. But oftentimes, certain brands fall into maybe a category that many people feel is more of a want than a need. And I would say jewelry is one of those categories. So for you, what did you feel was the problem that you
That's a great question.
could pose to the consumer when it's
Right.
a choice purchase versus maybe a need?
So I love this. We tested different angles in the beginning, but ultimately what led to kind of fulfilling that want and taking us off is when we tested the angle about standing out and making a statement. When we made it about our customers and about expressing themselves in, it's a lot of femininity, you know? So like owning your femininity, getting a name necklace that represents who you are. It's something that people have seen online for a long time, right? Like this has been a trendy product that's been around since I was a kid, born in the 90s over here, but really making this jewelry that's affordable and accessible to everybody was a huge need that we were fulfilling. Because we do offer 14 karat solid gold. We offer plated options. Our price ranges go from 100 all the way up to a couple thousand, depending on what you're looking for. But the fact that we have this accessibility to express and own yourself and your character, and you can kind of stand out and make a statement like that hit, and that carried us a lot of success.
Well, and you're right. I'm an 80s baby, but even back in my day, name necklaces, personalized jewelry was very much how cute. And I've got Trace Colori up on the website, or on a share screen right now. Just such great photography, not only of the products, but also, of course, of the lifestyle, how shall I say, like seeing this little kid with his mom. You're building not only the brand, but you're telling the story. And that's a big part of what we talk about when we talk about different brands. You go to the website and right away you want the brand to come through, what the brand is passionate about. I'm seeing a lot of diversity on the website. I love this. Now, even guiding people, if they're on your website, okay, so are they shopping for themselves? I can choose for me. I love this. A little self-love never hurt nobody. Am I shopping for the kids? Give a little shine to your greatest treasure. Or am I shopping for someone? Surprise the one you love with a gift. Fantastic. I really like on your, as I mentioned, how I can see the brand story. I see what you're speaking of, having great content as well. All of those things not only make for a beautiful website, beautiful Shopify store, but they are exactly what you need for a brand like yours to feel like you're fulfilling, like you said, that need. And for your brand, it's that need to stand out, that need to personalize your look. I love it. Okay, I might be doing some shopping later, and I feel like I say that often, but that was a very impressive website. We'll bring
And
it back up again. And for those of you watching, if you want to take, or watching or listening, if you do want to take a look, if you're like, oh, I need to see what she's talking about, if you're listening to the podcast, go ahead and bring up the website. It's Trace Colori. It's TresColori.com. Check it out. Brilliant photography. Let's dive a little bit into, because as a case study, you're here to share with us some of the pain points that your company has experienced, especially as a Shopify store and an e-commerce brand. and how you work through those things. Let's talk first about growing and scaling. Obviously, you mentioned that you now have grown to X number of employees. The company is growing, it's doing well. It's one of the dopest jewelry brands right around. What are the biggest, oh, I just love that word, dope. What is the biggest problem you feel like you've experienced in terms of growth, and what has been your resolution, or what are you working to do to counteract that or to take advantage of that?
Yeah, that's another awesome question, and I would say depending on where we were at and the journey of getting to where we are, that question would change.
Mm,
What challenges we face, I think this is part of being a business owner in general, is it's all about your outlook and your mindset going into your business's growth and scale journey. Like, there will always be problems. It will never be perfect and it's never finished. Like, you don't arrive into this great place where all of a sudden everything's working and it's humming and it's great. It's consistent work all the time. So right now, our current challenge, an example was influencer relationships. So an integral part of getting the word out about our brand is collaborating and working with influencers. So before we were working with influencers, we had an amazing woman. Her name is Ashley. She would manage these relationships in Excel spreadsheets. And I'm talking about 500 different influencers, how much we're paying them, the terms of the contract, the content we're receiving, all of these super extraneous details, which now we've adopted a new SaaS software, Grin. So Grin kind of automates all that, frees up Ash's mind so she can go back to focusing on what she loves and cares about most, which is the brand development, the photography, the planning. So
yeah.
influencers, this huge burden, an integral part of the business, was kind of slowing us down. And now it's somewhat automated and off her plate. So it frees her up to go back into the brand. We're going to be releasing a 2.0 version of Trace Colori in a couple months towards the summer. And a lot, her input into the design, into the photos that we're going to be using. Like, without that shift, we wouldn't be able to be in a position to completely revamp the website and take it to the next level.
What a great tip and insight. So it's called Grin, and it's a great way. It's basically an application or software package of some sort that allows businesses to really, almost with a click of the mouse, right, manage all of their influencer relationships, which you're right. I feel like I was the last person to get into Excel spreadsheets. And now that I understand how to work them, I have one for everything, for the bills. I have one for my personal finances. I have one for my wedding coming up. Like, I'm kind of a psychotic Excel spreadsheet person because I'm very visual. At the same time, it's not always super user friendly. You have to go in and usually update everything yourself. So that's interesting. What a wonderful insight. If you guys are watching, if you're an e-commerce business, if you're just diving in or stepping your foot into the influencer pond, consider checking out Grin as a way to manage those relationships. Because you're right. Not only do we always preach that people should always do what they do best, right? In a business, you can't do everything, and it doesn't make sense to do everything, even as a small startup. So I love that you outsourced that responsibility, the influencer managing, to someone who could do it and do it well. And
Mhm.
even more so, now she can not only do it well, but do it in less time thanks to that. Is it a software? Is it an application? Or is it like, I don't know, is it like a,
It's
well,
an
there's
it's an
application,
It's an
app, right?
application. So you have
Yeah,
the
application.
application, you get your dashboard, and the way their software works is it lists all influencers on different platforms sourced from people. So you can filter, categorize, really find who you think is going to represent your brand. You can outreach, you can prospect, you can even
Wow.
see attribution in the platform in the dashboard. So you can start to see how your dollars are working for you, which is ultimately, as the CMO, that's what I care about most. Like,
Yes.
I want to see, are my dollars at work and how is that turning out into a return for us based on our objectives,
Fantastic.
you know?
Fantastic. Okay, this is why our series is the best digital marketing series ever. We get the best guests who give you guys the best insights. Tyler, you're the perfect example. I love that. Let's dive into manufacturing capacity.
Oh,
Obviously,
great.
right? Business is growing. You've got influencers out there doing their thing. More orders are coming in. People want more. They want maybe more of a specific thing? Maybe trends are starting. I feel like gold is so hot right now. Silver's kind of taking its rest, its moment. How have you how have you dealt with the increased number of sales coming in? Are there some other applications you use to manage your orders? Have you had to make changes in your manufacturing um, plan?
100%. Great question. So again, we own our manufacturing facility, which is a huge
That's huge.
advantage. Um, and working with all these brands, I can tell you right now, the people that control manufacturing are the ones that get to that successful scale spot the fastest. Um, Not to diss on anybody drop shipping, but it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder when you can't control that product quality, the fulfillment time, having like a trusted manufacturing where you can really have oversight and control what's going on. So I want to preface with that, but we use ShipStation. ShipStation is how we kind of manage the flow of what's going from uh, in production in the factory to the product is fulfilled to it's out for delivery to our customers. If there's any complications in the order, we have full visibility on that. So ShipStation really helps us with our manufacturing and having oversight on what's going on. I can say in the beginning when we first started, we were maybe doing 5% of what our capacity was. And it wasn't up until the last two Black Fridays and holiday seasons that we really started to see, whoa, okay, like we're gonna have to have shipping cutoff dates. Keeping in mind,
Mm.
majority of our orders are custom made, built. We do have lifestyle products that's more inventory and easier to manage. It has its own costs and its own analysis, but the majority of our stuff is customized, personalized jewelry.
Absolutely. You don't have a million Lauren spelled Laurun, right?
Right.
Necklaces sitting in a vault somewhere. So when that one person named Lauren, wants a necklace, you're like, oh, got it right here, right? A lot of your stuff is very much personalized. And that definitely presents a whole new set of pain points for you. But I do love that. You made a really good point. If you are able to own the manufacturing, not be drop shipping, you definitely are going to have not one, but really two legs up on your
Mhm.
competition because you're much more able to pivot and pivot more quickly when you need to.
For sure. And you have to ask yourself, like when these products are getting ordered and fulfilled, do you have somebody handling customer service? Because
Mhm.
inevitably, there's gonna be an issue that pops up. And are you handling customer service as a business owner, or do you have somebody that's
Mm.
handling customer service? Are you prepared for that one ticket you're getting right now when you're only selling 5 figures a month? What about when it's 100 tickets, when you're selling 6 figures or 7 figures a month? Do you have like that's sort of the thinking and just having that thought in your head and knowing that that's a problem that you're going to have to solve along that journey of scaling. So you have to be prepared. And a lot of the people that sit at the table of Trace Colori are people that have came along at certain times when these problems arise that really champion these departments. So it's more of like it's not like your traditional, here's the two people in charge, here's the three people under them, and there's the team. We're literally like knights at the round table coming together representing our own unique specialties, seeing how we can pivot and help each other grow.
I like that because you're all bringing not only a unique perspective to the experience, right, of the brand, but you're all seeing things and wanting and feeling like you're being heard, right? The
Exactly.
contributing is a huge, it goes right back to your motto, right? Your brand is all about loving all humans. And we always say, what, two heads are better than one? Well, 10 heads are better than five. You know what I mean? So I like that. I really like
Sure.
that. Sounds like a really great place to work. Now, are you guys currently in a remote situation or are you in, hybrid situation or office?
I love that. So it's kind of mixed. I am remote 100% because I'm on the West Coast, but I'll fly down to New York. I'll spend a week in the office. They are offering more remote days for employees just because you know anything about New York, the traffic is absolutely insanity. And so we do kind of offer that for our employees in a sense that where you can work from home this day, you're going to need to be in the office that day. Our
Yeah.
our dev team lead, he actually works from home majority of the time as well. So with things like Zoom, things like all these video conferencing, it's really easy to have this convenience on your employees takes the stress and the time. The time is huge. that they spend commuting out of the picture so they can focus on being as focused on work as possible.
I agree. It's interesting when you take out the commute aspect. I'm from Connecticut myself, so I understand the whole like East Coast, New York vibe. It's very congested. Some people have to plan 2 hours in the morning just to get from one place to the next, right? Depending on where you live, especially if you live outside of the city. So it's really interesting how much employees now can get accomplished when you take out maybe 2 hours of a commute out of their life every single day, and what that means for the balance and the happiness and the family life and the social life of those employees. They're happier people. We'll
Mhm.
actually talk a little bit more about some of these remote changes with our Engage News of the Week here in a minute. Well, here's one thing I want to talk about. It's a big pain point that I'm glad that you wanted to talk about. You're the first case study who wanted to come on board and address this, but this is a pain point that so many e-commerce businesses are now experiencing, and it is how to handle all the new privacy changes that were put into play with the Apple iOS 14, which is the opting in, right? Or the opting out of being tracked, and what that is meaning for brands like yours who
Mm.
have relied, right, on being able to track what your customers are doing, where are they spending their time, how far down on the webpage are they going, getting their email addresses, knowing what they're doing, right, is a big part of marketing to those people. So I'm really glad you want to talk about this. When did you first realize how it was going to affect your business? Was it very early on after these changes, or did it take a little time to understand what that meant for your business?
For me at the time, like when I first read the article about the update and how Apple was going to kind of shake up advertising as we know it in general, I was like, alarm bells going off. I was freaking out, to be honest, because it changes everything. And, if I know anything about my store or the brand that I'm working with, it's the percentage of users that are on iPhone, which was 65%. So the first thing I did is I took all my yearly data and I took 65% of our revenue and took it away just visually, just to
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
like, if I can't track this and I can't say how much money am I not going to be able to really trace around and make strategic decisions on. That was scary. And,
I'm
I'm
like
not
I'm like imagining 65% of my income, just like, is this gonna come? How am I gonna get this? Like, put that away. And I'm like, ay, ay, ay. Yeah, I can
right.
imagine.
So
That's really scary.
it's not a matter of it's hard because it gets very technical when you talk about like the SK ad network and aggregate event measurement and what does it mean. But basically, what happened is right now, every advertiser that's using platforms like Facebook, Google, wherever, and you use things like lookalikes, you're renting data from these ad platforms. You're renting the data that they're collecting. And all Apple's saying is that first party, right? This data, if it's going to be used, needs to be sourced from a first party solution. So, how do we make a first party solution? At Trace Colori, I had mentioned him earlier, a dev team that built us out a cloud. So we have a complete cloud that we can put all of our apps, even Shopify reports into there. ShipStation can manage and function in there. And so can other ad platform. We use Elevar, right? So Elevar is a solution that we use to capture this data. Our server is where we keep this data, and that's where we report first party to all these platforms that same data. So I can still use lookalikes. That doesn't solve the issue of how I'm sourcing the data. And there's so many different ways to approach this problem. To be honest, nobody has a perfect solution. There is not one perfect solution. I don't care what they say or what they claim on the Facebook ads that you're seeing that they're going to attribute
Mhm.
perfect. There's no perfect solution. Facebook's not there yet. Google's not there yet. I mean, they're trying. Let's be honest, the projection is going to be a cookieless web eventually. So these platforms are trying to be as appealing as possible. It's just not there yet. So it's how you use that data and how you capture it. You looked really quickly at our jewelry wizard, right? You're like, am I shopping for me? Is this for my kids or is this for a loved one?
Let me go back to that. Let me pull that actually up for us. Boom. So let me find that. So I'm going to go right up to the
Hmm.
hamburger, right?
Yep, and start your build right at the
Start.
top.
Oh, start your build. Perfect.
Yep.
Yep.
So this is an example of a first response. Change the shopping experience so we can still collect the data and use the things we need. So go ahead and click one. Shop
So
for
if you're
yourself.
if you're listening on the podcast, because we do offer video and podcast versions of our show, I went to the Trace Colori website, and on the hamburger menu, there's a great little picture and it says start your build. And when I click on that, it gives me options. It says, who is this for? Is it for me, kids, or for someone? So I'm going to click for me. I mean, I like to shop for sure. Can we do necklaces?
Hmm.
I'm clicking a necklace. And guess what? Trace Colori is getting this information, right?
Hmm.
Then I'm like, oh, what link do I want on my chain? Cuban, Figaro, or regular link? Ooh, let's just do a simple regular link. Ooh, now I have choices: sterling silver, rose gold, 14 karat solid gold, 14 karat gold over silver. I'm feeling rose gold today. I love the noises. There's effects with each single thing. It sounds like either a metal worker creating something, or it sounds like a little money going in the piggy bank even. Now I can select my chain length. Okay, so this is so cool. This is a way for Trace Colores to get information, right, about what people want, what people are looking for, what styles are most popular. Ooh, dainty script necklace, script, large initial. There's more. Oh my goodness. Okay,
Hmm.
hold on. Scrolling. Ooh, gothic. Oh, and then a crown. Large script. I'm liking large script. Ooh, this is lots of good stuff. Okay, I'm definitely shopping later. Okay. This is neat. So basically, you've set it up, your website, to give your customers or prospect customers the chance to tell you what they want and what they like the best.
Hmm.
I
All
like
the
this.
while, all the while too, as you go to complete your build, once you're finished, you then provide us with your email address, and a phone number is optional. All we need is the email address, the phone number you can put in as well. But right there, we've just collected a list data, which now we have that information, which we can then use to further and better our ads on the platform, right? And
Mm.
so this isn't the solution to iOS. This isn't gonna ultimately change it. But what we are doing is we're trying to own our data instead of rent from these giants in a way that we can. The ultimate goal for us is to cater the most relevant things to the people that are shopping our website. And I think that's a big misconception. People love ad privacy, but would you rather see the JG Wentworth cash ad on Facebook, or would you rather see the
Oh.
necklace that's so relevant that you were shopping and you wanted to buy?
And you weren't
So
sure, did you want it in gold or silver? And then you see it again in gold and you're like, okay, that's the one I love, right?
exactly.
That just made me feel, I'm not going to lie, like a VIP. Going to your website, being able to say this, it's almost like calling up and being like, hey, I saw this in the catalog. Do you have it in silver? Can I get it with a different chain? The fact that not only is it personalized with your name, but it can, or a date, but it can also be personalized at like every step of the way, really makes people feel like they're a jewelry designer, right? Like
Mhm.
they're having an actual experience with the shopping that is not just a click and a cart and a pay, but it becomes a very visual. It becomes like a very you're shopping with your senses because you're
Mhm.
actually designing and creating it. That's so neat. Kudos to your company and kudos to you. Trace Glories is very lucky to have you. I just want to put that out there. If anyone from Trace Glories is watching or listening on the podcast, you done good. You done good. Don't you do anything. Don't you dare get rid of Tyler. I'm coming after you. Um, this has been a really insightful discussion, Tyler. I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us. Where do you see the changes in privacy going? Because I feel like you're really good about forecasting and you're really good about seeing the big picture. Do you see the platforms changing to help businesses adapt and then Apple continuing to be like, nope, now we're doing this, right? Do you kind of see this leapfrog thing happening through the future and this constant need to pivot? Or do you feel like we're going to get to a common ground where Apple's going to say, okay, e-commerce, I know you need this information. Here's what I'll do, like, or do you think it's going to constantly be this battle? What do you
I
think?
think so the end game ultimately for anybody wanting to know, like, what is it going to become? Google search, like, Web3. which is where the users own their internet experience. It's an awesome place to be. We're just not there yet. Apple's kind of set this in motion, and everybody's shaken up. But if you look at even Google, right? They preach 20. I believe they said 2 years ago, 2022 was going to be the year of the cookieless web. We're still not there yet, but the environment's changing. It's shifting. Ultimately, users are going to be the ones that control their experiences on the internet, which is an awesome thing if you think about it as a consumer. And even as these businesses, like it's going to require you to be authentic. It's going to require you to be genuine. It's
Mhm.
required you to put your customers first, which if they're not right now, like you're not going to make it to see that change happen.
And I love that. Great words to live by because that is certainly something that comes across in your branding, in your story for Trace Coloris, and obviously in your motto as well. So wonderful insights today. Thank you so much for taking some time to share a little bit about yourself, your background, your brand with us, but most importantly, sharing some of the pain points that have really changed the way that you're doing things now. And of course, pain points that you'll continue to work through as you continue to grow and scale. You continue to adjust to new modifications thanks to Apple. I think a lot of businesses out there, small to mid-sized businesses listening to this podcast, will be really appreciative of your insights and some of the experience you've shared with us.
Happy to be of service.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, it is time for us to share with the audience our what we call our Engaged Digital Marketing News of the Week. I'm going to pop up a link to an article. The link is long, so don't worry about that right now. If you're watching on our video, I will. And if you're listening on the podcast, I'll share it with you in a minute. But I just want to share a little bit about this article that touches on some words from an actual Shopify executive. And the article is actually found at www.fastcompany.com. And the title is really Shopify Exec, the Four Secrets of Successful Digital First Companies. So this article is really unique. It's a great read if you're interested in learning more about managing your remote teams, but it shares 4 ways to be successful running a digital company with a completely remote style workforce or team. So basically, the article uses Shopify as an example of a now fully remote company with an excerpt that says the VIP of employment experience at Shopify shared that a funny thing happened during COVID. The world realized that a centralized physical space isn't actually a requirement to do impactful work, which I think is very interesting. And the concept of office centricity is essentially over. Shopify is now a fully remote company, and it's a decision we made in May of 2020. So that was from the VP of Employee Experience at Shopify. And here are 4 things the article shares. They say that one way to really be successful at a fully remote um, workforce is to prioritize freedom and flexibility. Embrace, and you mentioned this, Tyler, no commute. Create new workday traditions with your family that help build a more balanced life. And a more balanced life is what fuels a person. I think that's something we all have experienced and we're aware of. Also, continue to value in person connections. Employers need to build IRL, in real life. That's what that stands for, IRL moments. So I think this is really unique. So if you're a small to mid-sized business, especially, and you've gone remote, it's important for you to build IRL, in real life moments. Maybe that is a monthly happy hour or a Zoom where you do something that's super interactive. So even though it's through Zoom, it's still very much interactive and engaging, not just a talking head, right? Remote work allows you, as an e-commerce business, especially, the opportunity to hire from anywhere. So I like this. There's no longer the need to hire the best candidate in your city. Now you can hire the best candidate in the world if you're operating on a remote system or culture. And then the last thing it shared as a tip is you can build culture with intentional, thoughtful design. It says, deeply consider the tools, rituals, and growth opportunities your employees need. Talk about showing up to virtual meetings with the best technical setup, as an example. So basically, they shared, hey, now that we are remote, let's do it well, right? Don't have a shoddy little grainy camera, right? Give your employees the opportunity to purchase equipment so that they can show up, look their best, participate the right way. How many times have it's like, oh, my connection's not working, or someone's like, slow motion, or the middle of their talking, they get stuck like in some crazy face. Like, give the opportunity to your employees to not only show up, but show up in the best that they can. So I just think this was a great article to share. We always share tips and trends in digital marketing, but especially with e-commerce. Check out the article, you guys. It's at www.fastcompany.com, and you can probably search the article. It's Shopify Exec, the 4 Secrets of Successful Digital First Companies. Tyler, just along the lines of this article, is there anything I shared that you feel Trace Colori is doing right now as you've pivoted to a highly remote workforce?
100%. So everybody back at New York, and I also have the opportunity to fly out there and participate. But we do like bowling nights, we do movie nights, we have people over. We're so small that we can still do dinners and everything together as a team. So there's always an opportunity outside of work, and I believe as an employer that is the only thing you're accountable for. Like, it doesn't matter if they show up or not. Are you giving them the option to? Are you giving your employee the opportunity to get involved, right? And if they want to get involved, awesome. If they don't, that's okay. You're leaving the door open.
I think that's wonderful advice and a wonderful example of what we just talked about. It's always giving your employees the opportunity. And, you know, it's interesting. My fiance works fully remote and has, but I think now people are feeling more comfortable to come back to some of these in-person functions. His company always did a yearly event every single summer. And last year it was really kind of a flop. No one felt comfortable enough, right? Because of this, situation in the world. But I
Mhm.
think people are coming back to a place of comfortability. People are feeling better about being around other people, obviously keeping certain precautions still in mind. But I think this is the year, this is the summer that we all need to say, okay, we've gone through a lot with the pandemic. We've survived it. We have learned from it. We've made huge strides and made big changes with our company. So let's celebrate that. Like, we just did 2 years of craziness. This is the year we deserve to really celebrate and to acknowledge how much we just went through, and not just kind of shuffle it as some creepy, weird, bad memory, but embrace what we've overcome and accomplished. So many companies are kicking butt right now because of the changes. And so I think it's important to also reward your employees for sticking with you if they've,
100%.
stuck with you during those
100%. And
changes.
even if somebody wasn't comfortable to go to the event, have a webcam up. Have something at the event to get those people involved too if they want to be there. There's so many solutions. You just got to have that solutions mindset.
I love your mindset, Tyler. I love your mindset. This has been such a great show with you. I'm so glad you could carve some time out of your busy, crazy schedule to join us. Again, I want to just give kudos to your brand, your company that you work for. You're the CMO, Trace Colores. You guys, Tyler is a diamond, so treat him well. And I'm excited to see what your company continues to do. I'm actually going to go follow you guys on Instagram right now. Instagram's my preferred social media app. So I'm going to follow you guys right now so I can kind of keep in check with your products and what you have coming up, and kind of watch what you guys are doing, because I'm excited for all the good things you have coming your way in the coming years. If you guys want to connect with Tyler, please do it. Connect with him on LinkedIn. I'll spell his name out for you if you're listening on the podcast. But just one favor, when you connect, leave him a message. Tyler is super active on LinkedIn too. I know he'll message you back. Let him know you saw him on the Engage Digital Marketing for Shopify podcast. And you can spell his name Tyler, Tyler, last name Berglund, Berglund. Catch him on LinkedIn, drop him a connect, and then also visit Trace Colores. That is this New York based artisan brand of jewelry. They specialize in personalized jewelry. And as we learned, they own their manufacturing. So they have a lot of control. They can really do almost anything. One question for you, Tyler.
Mhm.
I know your website took me through creating my own piece. Do you even do so much as, highly personalized things? I know you do things for other companies, and we can't share any names because of NDAs, but do you offer the opportunity to do fully customizable pieces if someone were to email customer service, or do you still right now keep it in a certain framework?
Right now, it's definitely confined to the products that we have listed, and that's just
Okay.
because of molds and because of how we're built right now. But if you have an idea, if you have something that you have in mind that we don't have, we'd love to hear about it.
I knew you were a yes man, and that was no less than what I'd expect from you and your company. I love that. So, listen, a company that wants feedback from the consumer, especially because they are all about loving all people, accepting all cultures, and of course, giving people a personalized experience, not only when they shop, but when they get that finalized product. So, very cool. Well, please check out tracecolores.com, TresColori. Tyler, I want to thank you again so much for joining us here at Engage's Digital Marketing Intelligence for Shopify. Thank you for sharing your insights and your time. I look forward to everything that your company and yourself get into in the coming years. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck. And I think you've got all the tools you need to continue to be so successful in your Shopify store.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure, Tyler. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Yes, and another amazing case study for the books here at Engage's Digital Marketing Intelligence for Shopify Ask the Experts series. Tyler is not only a wealth of information, he shared so many insights, even some great tips on applications you can use as a small startup company like Grin to manage your influencer relationships. He talked about the importance of email lists and this really transition to SMS marketing and how important that's going to be in the coming years. And also, obviously, things you can do to overcome Apple's privacy, changes as they've hit us in the last year and as they continue to change in the years ahead. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us for another episode of our series. I want to remind you that if you've not yet connected with Engage on LinkedIn, please do that. That's where you can find more about all of our updates. We have our Engage SMS messaging for Shopify app dropping very, very soon. If you're just joining us and you missed our introduction at the start of the show, right now SMS messaging has an open rate of over 80%. It's like 80, what is it? Oh no, 98%, right? Whereas right now email continues to slowly decline and email is only about 20%. So if you are looking to build your customer lists, have automated marketing campaigns, promote your products and discounts, and even get feedback from your customers, SMS messaging is where it's at. And you don't even need a technical staff with our app. So please go to LinkedIn, look for our Engage logo. It's a rainbow colored cog. If you're listening on the podcast, NGAGGE is how you spell our name. If you're interested in joining us for an episode of Digital Marketing Intelligence as a guest or as a case study, please feel free to connect with me as well. I'm also on LinkedIn, the Marissa Morgan, or you can email me, Marissa, MARISSA.M at engage.com. That is all for today's show. I want to thank you all so much for joining us. I look forward to continuing our series on Shopify and e-commerce in 2022. Continue to stay tuned for more amazing guests and more amazing case studies brought to you by Engage. Have a great day, everybody.